Welcome to Evilive, the live media commentary show that answers the question, does the devil really have the best tunes? Subscribe if you're new to the channel, because today we are reviewing What We Do in the Shadows, Season 4, Episode 7, Pine Barrens.
Fuck, yes we are. Just when I thought they couldn't get any better.
So weird and just
do it.
out there, and just like, it just reminded me of our friend Darren Deicide. Like the whole time.
Fair enough, fair enough.
All right, so initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts, I didn't know how they were going to outdo the wedding, but they fucking did it. I mean, I'm a sucker for anything cryptids, so the fact that we got a cryptid from that area, and boy, did we get it. Yeah, that just was so goddamn good. It was so bad. It was so terrible, and I loved it.
Amazing. The balls on that thing was like me in midsummer coming out of the shower.
Right, yeah.
Just like right next to your knees, and you're like, when did this start happening? When was this a thing?
Oh yeah, that's why I wear boxer briefs now. Keep those suckers up.
All right, so this was directed by Kyle Newacek, written by Sarah Naftalis, and it, of course, premiered August 16th, whenever
Yes.
it did, this last week. We're finally caught up, so we're only going to be doing one review here, which is a bit refreshing, I think.
It is, especially because we got another review after this.
Yeah.
Which is not going to be refreshing.
Different channel. We won't get into it.
No, we won't.
Let's get into this episode, though. You want to start the synopsis here?
Hell yeah. So it starts off where the boys are going with, God, and I just blanked his name, but the neighbor. They're going with him to the Pine Barrens and taking
Sean.
Yeah, there we go.
Good old
taking
Sean.
Little baby, not Colin Robinson, the creature that crawled out of the chest cavity of our dear friend Colin Robinson.
Yeah.
They're going out to the Pine Barrens, out to good old New Jersey, to go hunting for the weekend because they need a boys' weekend or something.
Yeah. Well,
and
we can understand that. I mean, we just
came
back from one of our own.
Understand that. I get it. And just like that, somebody got shot. There was fighting, and we found some cryptids. I mean, that's just a typical boys' weekend, right?
It's what happens. It's just what happens. Boy, do I wish that's what happened.
Oh my god, that would have been so much fucking fun.
Instead, I just got sick that I'm still fighting.
God damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's not going away. I completely blame my nephew. 100%.
I would.
It is his fault.
I would.
God damn it.
Everybody else is fine. No one
I
else
know.
got sick.
That bastard. Last time I shared a tent with a relative. That's all I'm saying. It's not going to happen. Unless there's sexy lingerie involved. Then maybe.
And you know what? If it's sexy enough, it's worth being sick for 2 or 3 weeks. Especially if you can sneak in like a hidden camera up in the corner. What's that blinking red light? Oh, fireflies. It's just fireflies. Ignore
Definitely fireflies in the middle of the desert. Not a camera recording possibilities.
Right.
Yeah. This is my new channel that I'm starting. Not safe for work. Cousin fucking. Oh, yeah. All right.
But yeah, so they're in the Pine Barrens, and it's great because it's not great. There's a lot of underlying tension between Nandor and Laszlo, which is finally getting explored with this episode. And then it cuts to Guillermo. He's all excited because he's got the house to himself. He's going to finally have that dinner with his family that he's been putting off for 12 years. So he's gussing up the place, making it all pretty. And apparently all that entails is a little bit of light dusting and then putting up a My So-Called Life poster. Which makes sense. I mean, that.
Meanwhile, the entire structure should be condemned.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, it's natural. It's God, how did he put it again?
Organic or something. Like it was just some weird throwaway reference that meant nothing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I actually do love the one male family member that came in that was just antagonizing the whole time. He's like, "What?"
Oh, yeah.
Or like, "You got promoted from Panera to the railroad? That doesn't make sense at all." It was a pop up.
Yeah, and it's great because we're catching we're finding out all the lies that he's been telling his family over the past almost 2 decades. Yeah, and they're all catching up, and it's so damn funny.
And yet, like I thought it was really interesting because we finally got to sort of pull back that curtain on like what would be normal people walking into this really abnormal atmosphere, and formerly our inn was either Sean the neighbor or it was Guillermo sort of doing his camera talking. But even Guillermo's like really so embroiled in this, at least this episode made me feel this way, where he's no longer normal. And maybe he never was, but I just always assumed he was the normal guy. And now we realize, no, he's as fucked up as every one of these vampires because he's lying as much or more, arguably more than any of the vampires ever have or would, just to sort of cover his own desire of being a vampire. And I love the instinctual awareness of the grandma coming in like, hey, come here, I need to talk to you.
Yeah, that's so goddamn good. And it's so funny, too, because he doesn't even think about it until she says shit. And then he's like, oh, well, shit, obviously, if it's in my DNA, it's in theirs, too. Oh, fuck, I brought some vampire killers to a vampire's den.
So funny. And so let's cue Nadja coming in, and she thinks she's having a girls' night, because she thinks all the guys are out. And so she's, of course, what every woman ever wants to watch is Mamma Mia. Okay. I assumed it would be like, what was that? I don't even know what this is. This is terrible because I don't know the reference. Magic Mike or something like that.
Magic Mike, yeah.
I assumed it would be like that. But instead, she's like, no, let's just do a Mamma Mia musical night or something. Have you ever seen that film?
Whatever. No.
I've never, ever once sat down to watch it.
I fucking hate ABBA, so...
Oh, is that an ABBA show?
It's based off of ABBA stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no thanks.
The only thing that would make me want to watch it would be Amanda Seyfried, because I think she's in it.
She is.
I thought she was great in everything else she's done, so... I
she is, but yeah,
I myself to do it.
It's if it wasn't ABBA, I could do it because I like musicals, and for the most part, I like so-called chick flicks. But just something about ABBA, man, it makes me want to take a screwdriver and stick it in my ear.
Okay, but would you sit through it if you were kicking it with the guide and Nadja?
Obviously, I mean,
yes,
shit.
and
duh, because it's the experience. It's not the watching it. Like you're hanging out with the guide, you're hanging out with Marwa, you're hanging out with the fucking doll, like everybody. Like,
Marwa.
It doesn't matter what's going on. It's just going to be dumb as shit and fun. Because I mean, hell, they started off with karaoke.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Love me some karaoke.
So yeah.
Does the doll have a name? Is it just doll? I can't remember.
I can't remember. It's I know that like whenever they do the screen on her where she's talking, it's like the doll of Nadia or some shit. I don't remember, but like she does have a long drawn out name, but off the top of my head, I can't think of it.
We've been so inundated with Nadja's interaction and sort of powering over or overpowering all the other men in the household. I thought it was refreshing to see her in a position with Gizmo's family where she's totally at a loss. She thinks she's being all, sort of folksy and everything, but they're just smelling the vampire unknowingly on her and just getting wildly aggressive. And she's like, what is happening? Yeah. What's going on? And then when it finally turns, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's so great, too, because they still have no fucking clue what's going on. They're just getting so fucking angry. And they're even talking about how they don't have any idea what's going on. They're on fire and they just need to do something.
It's so hot. The dude's taking his shirt off.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do when you're warm at a dinner party. You just get naked.
I mean, okay, raise of hands. Who hasn't done that before? Exactly. We can't say anything. So it happens. It happens.
It's a problem. It can be a problem. It's not always a problem. Yeah, but then we're like flashing back and forth. So before we get to the true insanity of the dinner party or the girls' night out, as it were, we go right back. And I'm loving the interplay with the Colin Robinson boy character and how he's just so inundated in this sort of video game culture because growing, like, raising kids, that's what they do. That is the lifestyle they're living in right now. At least mine are anyway. And so it's so refreshing to see the sort of frustration perspective in the vampires that I shared when reacting to the same thing. Like, just get your head up and put the damn device down. Like, why did I ever buy this for you? Because it's taken you out of, socializing of every situation. It's very, very frustrating as a parent because you feel like they're just not present, and they aren't. And that's the new culture, I suppose.
Well, then it goes even deeper than that too, because then when he's talking with Sean, he's fuck, man, I suck. I don't think Laszlo loves me. And
That's
Sean's the outside
devastating.
perspective of being like, look, man, you're cool. You got your own shit going on. Like, you don't hit anything else with the hammer, right? Then
That was
cool.
so
It's like you're,
funny.
it's like that guy. It's fucking hilarious because he is like the epitome of what you think of like a New Yorker, like not Manhattan New Yorker, but like outside of NYC New Yorker.
Yeah.
And so it's like this weird polar opposite type thing where he's got that attitude, the machismo and all that stuff, but he's like super sensitive and like caring about everybody. And like with the last episode, or not the last episode, episode 4, where he's like threatening to beat up Guillermo over being a homophobe. Like this dude is just so awesome and such a complex character.
So funny.
Like I'm glad he's still around.
Yeah, me too. And I love that he's being played as like the best friend over Nandor, and the dynamic that happens therein, because if you've ever had really close friends, I don't think it's ever overt like this ever really was, but I know I feel those sort of push and pulls of connection depending on who's around, and the dynamic that exists between those people that are around that I consider friends. And again, it never really goes that over the top moment where they're sort of looking for that Colin Robinson boy, and they're just having to have that heart to heart, like, look, we just don't hang out anymore, and I really miss it. And this is where, like, I was sort of thrown off by Laszlo's reaction. He's like, I'm not really, I don't really share my feelings that much, but I'm very much along the same, train of thought as you are. All he does is throw out feelings.
Right.
Like, that didn't make any sense to me. It felt very out of character.
Well, it's like, if you think about it, it is and it isn't out of character, because it's like the on the nose feelings that he has. Like, if he's happy, he's happy. Yeah. If he's mad, he's mad. If he's horny, he's gonna fuck anything around. Like, it's the real basic primal emotions that he's so over the top with, that the more subtle, caring and all that shit, that's what it seems like he has a hard time showing.
Okay.
At least from my perspective.
Yeah. Do you think that's like a result of him having lived so long and just being a vampire, or do you think that's who he is as a human before he was a vampire?
I don't know if it necessarily be him before he was a vampire, because he died pretty young and we really don't know a whole lot about his backstory. But I mean, being essentially immortal, like, I could see getting to that point where it's just like, yeah, that shit doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect my day-to-day, so why even bring it up?
Yeah, it starts to make me think of every roommate I've ever had. You go into it thinking, we're great friends, this is going to be a great experience, and you come out of it going, I barely left before I murdered that person.
Yep. I mean, that's just how it goes, and it's a fucking shame. I can count on one hand how many friendships I still have with roommates that I've had.
It's
and
brutal.
It sucks. Yeah.
It is brutal. And it gets so incredibly catty, too. Like, I distinctly remember an issue over jam. Like, someone bought jam. My wife maybe my girlfriend at the time, came over, and I just made her breakfast. I didn't think about who bought the jam, who owned the jam, but I made it, some toast, and I put jam on it for her. And then we had a freaking house meeting like a month later, and that was a point of contention. Someone opened my jam, and I was so frustrated that stupid comment came out that I refused to admit that I did the fucking jam. And she's like,
of course, because why wouldn't you?
It's just infantile bullshit. But that's the kind of stuff that should not mean anything and should not be a barrier for your friendship, that becomes huge. Oh, yeah. And so I can totally see the frustration between Nandor and Laszlo after being together so long. They're literally pulling out like original parchments about who gets to choose a room and amendments.
That shit was great. It's just so funny, too, because Laszlo was all like, oh, that's pretty tacky carrying that shit around, blah, blah, blah. And then he pulls out his copy. It's like, you had your copy all along. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. Or some shit. It's just so fucking funny.
It was so great. And I really did connect with Sean trying to scare Colin Robinson with the Jersey Devil story. Because that's what you do. You're out camping with the guys. You tell a bunch of folks tales. You're in the Pine Barrens. That's where Jersey Devil is. and it's a creepy place supposedly. So
I mean, it's seclusion, it's nature, it's not what we're used to. So yeah, anything like that's terrifying.
what really sort of threw a wrench in it for me was when the vampires admitted to making it up, and
Yeah.
then it turns out it was fucking real. I was like,
Yeah.
wait a second, what? Like how is that even possible? Like there must have been at some point in the past before Bon Jovi existed that people had seen like vampires. If they're out there dumping bodies everywhere and they have to make up a myth, they would have run across a Jersey Devil at some point. Like only because they've already run across sorcerers, zombies, werewolves. There must have been a Bigfoot or a Jersey Devil at some point, right? You would.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it could even be a tulpa, like
what?
Tulpa, like the collective consciousness created, like Candyman.
Oh, okay.
Like everybody thinks about it, so it materializes, type of thing.
Right.
Like I could even see that, not accept it.
Okay.
Because
In any case, it was hilarious.
Yeah, fucking great. Because it's practical, so it's wonderful, but it doesn't look good at all. But it looks so bad that it looks fantastic. Just the fact that I'm watching it not on television, like I'm watching it on Hulu, so it's not censored at all. So they say fuck and all that. That's hilarious in and of itself. But when we actually see the Jersey Devil and his big floppy balls, God, I lost it.
It's so funny. I loved the description, like the gigantic hanging balls and the tiny little button cock at the top. Yeah. And Laszlo's reaction was just so magnificent. It was just so amazing. I love Laszlo so much from this episode. And just him just sort of firing a pistol off, making fun of Nandor about how he's not a soldier anymore because it's been so long. He doesn't know anything about firearms, and they're sort of mocking each other. That's great. I mean, that almost happened on our man camp. If there was only a few more substances involved, then maybe that would have happened.
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, whatever. We've destroyed our water equipment before from weapons, so that's what it is.
In the desert, no less.
Yeah, on day one. Good time.
That's just how it works. Okay, that's man camp. That's what we expect. No water, barely making it out alive. Yeah, and that was kind of like the episode until we flash back to the dinner party where Nadja's involved, and like Guillermo apparently told his family that not only is she his girlfriend, which seeing her reaction is just amazing.
Yeah, fantastic.
But then also his the maid, like his employee, and the fact that she goes along with it blew my mind. She didn't just blow up the whole thing.
Yeah, I did not expect that one at all.
God, it just makes me love Nadja that much more. She's amazing. She's the best, the absolute best.
Well, and then when they finally snap and decide to kill her, like it just shows how much of a badass she is, because she's like fucking taunting him. At first she's like, I don't want any part of this, and then she's like, fuck you guys, you can't get me, type of shit. It's so damn funny.
Crawling on the wall like Bram Stoker's Dracula and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden the stakes start popping out, and she's like, fuck this, sorry, just kidding. And hiding behind the door and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great. And then finally we get Guillermo admitting to his family for the first time, I want to be a vampire and I'm gay. Which of those two is more shocking?
Right, and that's the funny thing is they're like, well, duh, we know you're gay. It's just
we're family,
fucking hilarious. That's when we finally get the revelation that we've been waiting for.
Did it ever suggest, is this just my heteronormative mind just working? I'd always assumed he was into girls until last season, and then I started thinking, well, maybe he's really into guys. I knew he was always into vampires, and so there's this sort of that gender bending sexuality preference that's always inherent with any vampire lore. But outside of the vampire thing, I just assumed he was heterosexual. Is that just me living my fucking blinders, or did they suggest it earlier?
I want to say in season 1 it kind of seemed like he was.
Oh, really?
I also don't really remember season 1 too well. Like I remember bits and pieces, but I could be wrong.
I remember
But
the
after
glitter portrait.
I mean,
well.
there you go. But yeah, after that, it's like it just sort of seemed like, okay, well, yeah, he probably is. But I mean, it's again, it's just like you look at any sort of vampire lore, like there's sexuality is not really a concern.
Yeah.
Like you're immortal, you're going to be around forever. Why not have fun with whatever you can?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Enjoy what tools you have at your disposal, so to speak. And I really loved Nadia's reaction too. She was like, "Oh, wonderful, big deal." You know, he was like, "Shade." Like I just love that idea that he thinks it's so big, it's such an important deal because it's so important to his life to share it, and everyone else is just like, "Yeah, of course, we saw that, you know, a mile away. Like we always knew that about you." And then, you know, to the people who maybe didn't see it, don't give a fuck. It's not a big deal anymore. You know, I love that shift. When I was growing up, it was a huge deal. People were beaten up or murdered because of it.
Oh yeah.
So to see that massive shift in popular culture, it just makes me feel good. Like that's yeah, of course. Who gives a fuck? Do your thing. I don't care. You know, I mean, why should it matter to anyone?
It's great because it's like in loving families, that's how it should be. I mean, fuck, like speaking from personal experience with cousins of mine, everyone that's come out, it's been like, yeah, we know. Are you happy? Cool. Awesome. Do we get to finally meet this mysterious person or not?
Yeah.
It's never like, you know, anything but.
Yeah. I think that's my biggest complaint about any religion is it teaches that idea of don't accept people for who they are, accept them only if they meet you on your terms as you see the world religiously. And it's like there's so much lost connection and love. Like that's all we have in this world. We're only here for a very brief time. And the only thing that really matters here, it's not money that we made up. It's not religion that we made up. It's our human connections that are literally the only thing that matter. And to forsake them because of something so just meaningless, it's shocking, especially when it's like your kid, for example.
Yeah.
You know, we see those situations. It's insane. But yeah, just I love that it's now just normal. And arguably it has been for a decade or more. It's not a big deal at all. But to see Guillermo come out and finally we get that understanding of, okay, now we know Marwa was fully acting on Nandor's love of Guillermo. I'm wondering what's coming next. Like clearly Guillermo's talking to someone that he's connecting with.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's probably going to be the next episode as we finally get to meet this mysterious person that he's been talking to.
That'll be awesome.
I hope so.
Do you think they'll be into like vampires or werewolves or anything?
I don't know, but that'd be so goddamn funny if he was a werewolf.
Like if he didn't even know?
Yeah.
Oh, man. The possibilities of wonderful fucking television is just so great with this show. I love it so much. What else happened? I mean, that was kind of it, right? Like they found the Jersey Devil. It was almost killing Sean, and they thought the only way we can defeat the Jersey Devil is to drain it of blood. And so first Laszlo started trying to attack it, and he just got his ass handed to him. He's like, "I know what to do," and he turns on Bon Jovi. Because the Barrens
and
in
it
Jersey.
fucking worked.
It's
that's the thing. He understood the assignments, and he fucking got an A.
Yep.
And then his prize was being able to mount the Jersey Devil's head in his house. Because I mean, realistically, what else are you gonna do? You killed a fucking cryptid. Obviously, you got to keep a trophy of it.
Yeah, I honestly thought they were gonna keep the balls. 100%.
I was a little disappointed that's not what got hung up on the wall because that would have been hilarious. But yeah,
especially with Nandor's sort of his medieval or his prehistory tradition of just being a monster of a sort of warlord. I assumed he would cut off the Jersey Devil's balls, throw them in his mouth, mount him on the wall. Like this is the Jersey Devil that we killed together. This is our bonding moment. And they made such a big deal about the balls.
Yeah, even in the previous episode, he was talking about how he would just wear a pair of his enemy's testicles.
Yeah. He's like, that's a Tuesday for me.
Yeah. I figured he would have at least had like his little pouch around his neck or
so
something.
great. He's got a new coin purse.
Hell yeah.
He's always finding reasons to open his coin purse. Oh, I got this from the Jose Devil.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Yes,
Would
100%. Yes, I totally would.
I would only pay with change forever.
Like, can you please stop pulling out that ball sack? Please. I can't take
Oh
it.
God, what is that?
It still smells. Like, why does it still smell? I did not skin it. I just fuck up those voices. I wish I could just do perfect, like, impersonations of these characters. I just love their voices so much. Have you ever watched interviews of the actual actors?
No.
Like,
I mean,
Nandor
other than
sounds
Guillermo,
so
like
different.
I've seen a few things of Harvey, whatever his last name is. And I've also seen him on like other shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one else. I mean, other than Nadja with that plant show.
Yeah. Did you like that?
Mm-hmm.
I did too. I like Nadja, but I never saw a second season.
Yeah. That's about how it goes.
She's great. She's amazing. I want her in my bed. I mean, just to see her again on TV. My wife's just like, bitch! I'll kill that bitch and take her balls.
And mine's just like, I don't understand why.
Oh,
it's
really?
like, you wouldn't. God damn it.
You don't understand. You don't have saggy balls. How would you understand?
I mean, I try to say that to her, and she just looks at me like, that's not an excuse for anything. And it's like, well, you wouldn't fucking know because you don't have saggy balls.
It's the best comeback. Yeah, but you don't have saggy balls. Anything else like that we need to cover with this episode?
No, I'm pretty sure we got it.
So good.
It really is.
Man, let's talk about ratings. Oh, let's talk about favorite parts. What was your favorite part?
Oh, definitely the Jersey Devil attack. That was just like that whole scene was perfection.
So funny.
Like I still stand by my statement of what was it, season 2, episode 4, Jim the Vampire, like best episode of television ever made.
Yeah.
This, just because of the Jersey
Jackie
Devil,
Daytona.
It's a close second.
Yeah. Wow, that high.
I like I said, I'm a sucker for anything cryptids.
Yeah.
And this shit was stupid as hell in the best way possible.
That was great. Yeah, my favorite was like reflecting back on it. I really, really loved Nadja's interaction with Guillermo's family and the whole chase sequence. I thought that was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about a cabin in the woods that always draws me in. I blame Evil Dead 100%,
Yep,
but
100%
every single time I get in a cabin in the woods sequence, I just fall in love with it. And especially when it's like an old person trying to scare a young person in the most ridiculous, stupid ways possible. Like, Jersey Devil, please, that's not real. And then it turns out it's fucking real. Of course it's real in What We Do in the Shadows. Of course it's real.
Yeah.
But just seeing it, like, when they first saw it, I was like, wait, where's the little tiny bat wings that it was talking about? And it just sort of, like, opened its arms up. I was like, oh, and there's the balls. They're just so prominent.
So great.
Just felt so old, and I connected on a visceral level.
It was like looking into a cryptid mirror.
Yep. Yeah, that's too real. That is too real. And then Bon Jovi too. Like, of all the shitty fucking artists that I grew up with as a kid, I can't help it. Every time I hear a Bon Jovi song, I'm just like, oh, like an old one. I was like, okay, I sort of bounce my head a little bit, even though I hate myself for doing it.
Right?
I hate myself deeply for doing it. That's what trapped the Jersey Devil. He wasn't enjoying being murdered by the fucking vampires, but he couldn't help it because John Bon Jovi was fucking rocking out. And if you're a Jersey boy, that's what you got to do, I guess. Weird.
It's in their DNA.
Weird. All right, did you have a least favorite moment?
No, not really that I can think of.
Yeah. I didn't really enjoy the initial sort of jealous banter back and forth, but once it fully developed and they sort of came full circle with it, I appreciated it more after the fact, and that's initially what sort of dropped my Tubi rating here.
That's funny because I thought that initial bit was so goddamn funny.
Oh, really?
Like Nandor trying to carry everything in. Were you gonna help with the bags?
I hadn't planned.
No, I was not. Thank you.
You gonna help with the
just
door?
Right back to it. It's like, I know so many people like that.
Oh, really?
So fucking funny.
I love that the flute was the go-to solution for the Jersey Devil initially. He's like, no way, let me get my flute. I put it in the car because it was very annoying. He busts down the window, pulls out the flute, and the Jersey Devil just breaks the flute. He's like, damn it. But he was calling down falcons and skunks and shit with that. That was great. Yeah. I want a flute now. I want to learn how to, maybe not a skin flute, but definitely a flute of some sort. After I get the witch's hat that has like a little anus pucker in the back.
That's a fucking must.
So
I don't give a shit if that's cursed and that's how I'm going to die. I will wear that shit until I'm dead.
God, I love Nick Kroll doing that scene. Oh, that was so great. What's the pucker sensation? That's the witch's anus. Oh, okay.
So good.
All right. Well, let's talk about ratings and close out this episode here. What'd you give us?
So, shock and surprise, it's a 5 for me.
5 evil eyes. Yeah. Yeah, I gave it a 4 initially, but now talking about it, I'm like pushing like 4.5. It's not perfect because it still did kind of bother me. You know, that sort of like out of nowhere resentment. At least it felt for me out of nowhere. But it was resolved, and we had such a great cabin in the woods experience, and Nadja and Guillermo's family was so amazing. I might have to push it up to 5.
Well, and then the whole time, fucking the guide and Marwa and the doll are just upstairs having a blast like nothing's going on.
Yeah. The guy's like,
they're completely oblivious. It's great.
I love it that she's like, how long is this movie?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I know that's exactly how I would feel if I sat down to watch it. Like, are they still singing? Like, can we just stop already? This goddamn film. But yeah, her whole thing, Nadja's whole thing was getting the second film of the fucking whatever it was called.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's next girls' night.
But now we have to have once a month. Like, she made the deal with Guillermo. Like, there's one day a month that she gets the house to herself. I want to see that again. I want to see that sort of replay out. They're like, we have to get out of here. And they're like, no, Gizmo, I don't want to leave the house. He's like, no, but we have to. And I can't really tell you why. So he's got to create these ridiculous situations to get the guys out of the house so that Nadja can have her moment. Also, just want to see the fucking house fixed. Like, I'm tired. Tired of the broke-ass house.
Right.
I love the My So-Called Life poster when Nandor and Laszlo finally get home. They're like, what the fuck is this? So good. All right,
God. Yeah, it's like, man, is this the fucking early 90s? What the shit?
Yeah, it's such an obscure reference. Like, I never even watched that once. But to see a poster of did you?
I loved that show growing up.
Is it like a high school drama thing, or is it like a
pretty
thing?
Much. It was like one of the first things Jared Leto ever did.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good, but apparently I grew up a teenage girl, so it's whatever.
Well, it happens to the best of us. All right, well, that's all we had for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, like it or not, evil spelled backwards is live, so get out there and be a little evil.
Hell yeah.
Maybe do a little evil. Feel a little evil.
I think any of it works. Just go kick an old person in the shins.
Oh, gosh.
So you can live a little.
I was going to say, let your evil balls